My intention for doing this video, as awkward as it's going to be, is to bring awareness to ways that you can be safe when you're in nature that you may not have thought of before. This message is for anyone who enjoys public hiking trails by themselves, with their children, or with their dogs, with their friends, with their family, because I care about you and I want you to be safe. About a week ago, I had an experience where I found myself with one of my best friends laying on a trail that is a place where I have found solitude and peace for a few years now. Today, on this day that I was out there, we laid on the ground for a period of over 20 minutes, having bullets rain on our bodies. And come to find out, there was no criminal activity because the nearby shooting range is not required to keep their bullets in their property. So as long as those bullets don't end up in your grandmother's, forgive me, but I'm being completely authentic in this message, and I'm going to say what I think. Unless any of those bullets end up in a grandmother's throat or a baby's, unless those bullets penetrate someone's skin, they're allowed to shoot outside of their property onto the public hiking trail that I was on that day. The MILLRACE Trail, which is a part of the Shockies Knob. It's this Sleepy Creek Wildlife Management Area, Brush Creek. From that parking lot, you can access either the MILLRACE Trail or the trail that will take you to High Rock. You can also access the Tuscarora Trail. The MILLRACE Trail will take you right to the Tuscarora Trail. So, I'm going to share my experience, and if you've made it this far, thank you. If you make it to the end, thank you. So, excuse me if I repeat myself. I've tried so many video attempts that I'm kind of losing track of what I've already said in this message. So, the point is that I've been coming out here thinking that I was safe. I actually just moved out here a couple months ago, and after moving out here, I've been telling my boys, my 13-year-old and 18-year-old, like, bring your friends, bring your girlfriends, get out in nature, go for walks on these trails. I had no idea that it was legal for those bullets to leave their property. So my friend and I were walking on the trail, and this time when I heard a gunshot, it was different than all the other gunshots that I've heard before. I live here now. I'm used to hearing it. It doesn't faze me at all, but this time it did. It sounded different. And then it was very different because just a second later, there was a bullet a few feet in front of my face going across the trail. And we were instantly in shock, so confused. We had seen right before we entered the trail, we entered the trail from the cul-de-sac at the end of the road here. At that cul-de-sac, you can go to the left, which is the shooting range, or you can go to the right. Just walk about 10 feet down to the MILLRACE trail, which there's a sign right there that says hikers only, that you can see from the cul-de-sac. So, not too far in before you get to the creek, that started. And so, of course, we instantly got on the ground, but the bullets were coming down on the ground. The most bizarre situation is that, or reality of the situation is that we both felt as though someone was shooting at us with the intention to have one of those bullets enter our bodies, or with the intention of trying to get as close to us as they possibly could without actually having the bullets penetrate our skin. It was a very bizarre feeling. And I just kept thinking, why does this person want to kill me? And my friend was feeling the same way. The bullets stopped coming. So I had already called 911. But my friend kept telling me to call my neighbor. So I hung up with 911 to call my neighbor. He's lived here for a long time, and he's familiar with this area, so familiar. He loves it way more than I do, and I love it so much. So I got off the phone with 911 to call him. He was in disbelief. You know, I was crying, I was very upset. At that point, the gunshot stopped. Like, as soon as I got on the phone with him. And so he's like, okay, I'll come check it out. So my friend and I get up and we start walking, like trying to leave the trail. And the bullets started coming again. And this time they were still coming right at us. At this point, he and I were no longer close by in proximity. He had found himself behind a tree, and I found myself on the ground with no protection from the bullets. Still, they're whizzing by my head. He saw them whizzing by my head. I saw them whizzing by. I heard them going through the leaves and on the low, not the leaves up high in the trees, the leaves that are on the, close to the ground. I've never felt like I wanted to melt or disappear like that. It was a very eerie feeling. And they just kept coming. So my when my neighbor got to the end of the road, where if you go left it's the shooting range and right it's the trail, he heard 3 shots that went up over his head from the shooting range into the wildlife management area. And in that moment he was so angry because he knew that what I was experiencing was real, that I was on the MILLRACE trail, like I said I was, and that bullets were raining down over my body and my friend's body. And he went into the shooting range and found a man shooting in a direction that he shouldn't have been shooting, with an open backdrop, shooting a pistol. When my friend and I got off the trail, I hung up with 911 dispatch right before I stepped off the trail. Whenever I saw the officers there at the end of the road, there were 6 of them from the sheriff's department. We were not greeted with one question. And the first thing that was made very clear to us in a very strong tone of voice, to make it very clear to us: the only people in the wrong today are you and your friend, because you were somewhere that you shouldn't have been. The shooter was standing there in the cul-de-sac with them, and it was very apparent that they all knew each other. He is a trainer at the gun range. He told the police that his bullets, he said it right there, I have it on video, that his bullets were over here, and he kind of, showed to the left in the shooting range property. Although he had already told my neighbor, the last thing he said to him was, "Tell them I'm sorry." The police gaslit us, again, never asking us where we were, even though we were telling them over and over and over we were on this public hiking trail. Like, we were, it was the absolute darkest thing to have just experienced what we did, both feeling like someone was shooting at us on purpose, to find out that it was an accident because the trainer at the gun range had a moment of negligence, and that there's no criminal activity because none of those bullets penetrated our skin, which I'm really thankful about. Like I said, it felt like someone was shooting at me with the intention to harm me or scare me really, really, really bad by getting the bullets as close to me as they could. The fact that my friend and I were not, like this, the second or third round when we got separated, I would yell out to him every few minutes just to hear him say something so that I knew that he hadn't been shot dead. I was crying, telling dispatch to tell my boys that I love them, because I knew that there was nothing stopping the bullets. I was laying there on the ground. I was scooting on my belly and my back. I have bruises and scratches on my front and back, just trying to get away from the bullets, but there was no way to get away from them, because I thought if I stood up, that would, if I stood up to run, to get behind a tree, that would be more dangerous than trying to get low. I was just trying to get lower and lower and lower, so I ended up rolling off the trail. But anyways, the point is that after an experience like that, to be greeted by the police, the sheriff's department, 6 of them, telling us that we were the only ones in the wrong, not asking us any questions, was the most evil thing. Because at that point we thought, this man was trying to kill us. He had a moment of insanity, and he's completely getting away with it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what his intention was, I suppose. What matters is that no one can be held accountable for the trauma inflicted because there was no law broken, because those bullets, even though they left their property and landed on a public hiking trail, no one was physically injured to the extent of, having a bullet in their body. So I've already spoken with, the next day I went into the sheriff's department and was shut down, told the same thing. Ma'am, we're aware of your situation. There's no criminal activity, or if you have a problem, take it to the shooting range. Awesome. DNR was the first agency that showed any type of care or concern for the matter. And even they greeted me with the realization that, unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done because there's no criminal activity. I've spoken with the ATF. I've spoken with the state police. I've spoken with the Potomac Appalachian Trail something. No one can do anything, and I think some people are, looking into this thing that I'm pressing, which is, why are there no signs? Why are there no signs at this trailhead saying, hike at your own risk, there is a nearby shooting range, their bullets do come into this property? Something does need to be addressed. Changes do need to be made, and people need to be made aware that when they just randomly look up and pick the MILLRACE trail, or this wildlife management area, that there is a shooting range, and when you hear it in the distance, you should be afraid. The closing statement that the officer made, because I have the 911 dispatch call where you can hear the bullets going by my head, and I have the radio communication between the officers, and the officer's closing statement was, Peacemakers range, they were shooting their range towards targets that were pre-approved. Victims in this did not actually see someone firing at them. I never said I did see anyone firing at me. I repeated, I do not see who's shooting at me. I just told them that we saw 2 people on 4-wheelers go into the shooting range, which weren't even the shooter, and what direction they were coming from. I never said I saw anyone, and then he ended with, so they didn't see someone firing at them, just thought their bullets were whixing, which I think maybe they meant wincing, by their head. All parties have been advised of options. Shooting has ceased for the night. No report. That man stood there. That officer told me that I was in the wrong that day. His closing statement, they just thought bullets were wincing by their heads. It's called gaslighting, and all 6 of those officers did that to us because they knew the shooter. because ultimately all that matters is that the law in West Virginia is that those bullets are legally allowed to leave their property. I have the pinged location from, well, there's a total of just 3 pinged locations from the 911 dispatch call that proved that I was on the trail, somewhere where I was allowed to be. In emergency situations, when you call 911, please be as clear as possible. Keep in mind, after you've notified 911 of your location, you may be better off hanging up with them and letting them come to you while you record what's happening. I wonder what he would have done if I would have gotten off the trail and showed him the video of me laying on the ground with the bullets flying by my body. Well, I guarantee he wouldn't have offered any empathy. But at least he wouldn't have been able to make some of the remarks that he did. It would have been interesting to see where it went from there. But before you pick a hiking trail, know if there's a shooting range nearby. And if there is one, depending on what state you're in, you might want to check the laws, because I doubt you want to have anything close to the experience that I did. And you certainly wouldn't want to find yourself in a situation like that with your children. It was scary enough trying to keep myself safe, and scary enough fearing for my friend's life. So please be aware of your surroundings. Please do not hike on the MILLRACE trail. Or at least check the Peacemakers website. And still, this isn't good enough, because they're not always going to post when they're shooting. So the other thing is that, never mind, I'm not even going to get into it about the shooting range. And, they apologized because I am going to get into it. My neighbor called them and spoke with them the next day. Well, he tried to get in touch with them the same day, but when he spoke with this man's supervisor, he apologized for the situation and made it clear that it's never going to happen again, and that there are different things being put into place, different ways of doing things there that will ensure that it doesn't happen again. I'm sorry, but any gun range, anyone who finds out of a situation like that doesn't reach out to the victims who laid on the trail having bullets rain down on their bodies to extend a sincere apology, in my opinion, they're not sorry. Or they're just really, really scared. And I highly doubt that, because they're protected by the law. Their negligence is protected by the law. Be safe. Thank you for listening. And if you know anyone who might be able to assist me in any way through this process of, trying to bring awareness to the situation, I'm still seeking. I'm not going to stop seeking out for there to be something done so that this will not happen again. So if you know anyone I could speak with about it, I would be more than happy to connect with them. I just want to preface that the next part of this video, when I state that bullets were raining down on our bodies, that was an incorrect statement. Obviously, I'm standing here, so bullets were not raining on my body. They were raining all around my body. So it would be like, it was so strange. It would be like standing in the rain, standing outside in the rain, but not having any of the raindrops hit you. And I would also like to say that I am pro gun ranges. I have no problem with the gun ranges. As a matter of fact, I have wanted to become a member at this very gun range that I'm going to be speaking about. So I don't even mind the sound at all. I don't know if you can hear it in the background. It's a lot quieter right now. I guess it depends on which direction they're shooting, or what they're shooting. Sometimes it can be really loud, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I just find it important to preface by saying these things. I have no problem with people owning guns. I myself feel that it is a good idea to have a gun in my possession, and I myself want to have experiences, like I said, being a member at this gun range. I even want to go hunting. I've just never had a partner that hunts, so I've never done that on my own. I hope you keep listening.